It's 7.
Yes, it is 7.
Oh, hi.
Hey.
That is not nearly close enough. It is super dark.
And it's a little better.
I'm black, man.
Wait, you're what?
God damn it!
Oh, God. Now, did you have the scroller up on here last time? Wasn't making it easy for you to moderate questions?
Yes, I'm just waiting for your live to pop up on here.
Ah, come on, live. Pop up, man.
Let me go here. Here, go.
Hey, live now.
Okay. So then now I just monitor chat here because I'm smart.
Yes, you are. One smart cookie.
Something like that.
All right. Now we can just give it a few more minutes.
See, that's why I told you should have started before 7 to open it up, and then we wouldn't have to sit here and wait. We could have been waiting, and we could have just started having questions.
I mean, if you're right, you're right. And you're right. You aren't able to see who's in the chat from your window, are you?
No.
Hey, as you're joining, drop a comment so I can see everybody who's in here. All right. So 3. No. Yeah, we want 3 people. Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Okay. Hey, folks, how you doing? Hey, Justin, thanks, man. That was a tough bite. That was a tough bite. That's like Butch, who won it. You know, Real All American Fishing.
Oh, he did win?
Yeah, he took
Hey!
first. Miles, how you doing? But yeah, Butch took first in the tournament, and he posted his video today. So if you haven't checked it out yet, you can go check out his video. He got a lot of good action on this one. And the biggest thing I would say is that with that tournament, yeah, it was definitely a tough bite, dude. Good God, it was a tough bite. But when I show you my video, like one thing that I didn't see a lot of in Butch's video was how much rain we got.
I get to comment.
Like we got rained on out there. Like we got dumped on for most of that tournament, at least where I was. I don't know if y'all were lucky you're out there or not, but y'all were all in Dorchester County, so I'm pretty sure y'all got rained on if you were there. It was a mess, man. But I'll get into that. Like that's one of the things I want to get into probably right off the bat. I'm gonna give it like another minute or two, and then I'm gonna give y'all my rundown of the tournament, what worked for me, what patterns I saw, what patterns I've seen over time. So yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into the fall bite, the recent reports. That's it's been tough for probably the past month or so, ever since that first cold front arrived, which is kind of what I expected, you know, but there's some other interesting activity that I have heard about. I haven't seen it myself yet, but I've heard from guys that I trust. Let me turn this off so you don't keep hearing all my notifications pop up. Let me silence my laptop. Silence laptop, God. Okay, there we go.
I have a button right here. I just push it.
Yeah, Justin, I hear you, dude. The rain was ridiculous, man. But yeah. Okay, it's 7:04 or 7:05. I'm going with my rundown of the tournament. But until then, if you have any questions, drop them in the comment box. I already got a few from different people out there, and I'll answer those as we get things kicked off. What was the tournament? Amped Up. And the tournament was called Big Liz. Biglizz.
Last weekend?
Yeah, it was last weekend, right? Yeah, that was last weekend, 26th. Yeah. Okay, and okay, I'm going for it. All right, so here's my rundown of the tournament. We got on the water and started fishing. I think kickoff was at 7 a.m. For the first maybe hour or so, we didn't get rained on. After that, we got dumped on. Jared, who was fishing with me, he got 2 on the Buzzbait, casting parallel to the shoreline. He got 2 on the Buzzbait, like a 19 and 20 incher, almost right off the bat.
Who's Jared?
Jared Ogle. Like if you've seen my videos, you probably, if you don't know who Jared is, you've seen his face. I guarantee it, because he's in at least half of my videos. But he picked up 2. Then I missed a giant one because he went out the day before, caught a bunch of itty bitty bluegill, and we were live lining those as well, because the tournament surprisingly was live bait and lures, which I didn't expect. But you know, I got some lessons learned there. I went to set the hook. Yes, catfish, man. Yeah, we call Jared Mr. Whiskers. That's right, Sam. Jared loves his catfish. But anyway, it's I missed a really big one right off the bat because I went to set the hook on it and I didn't have my drag set. So I set the hook and it just, that's all you heard. And I just saw the wake come off of that fish. That was a big snakehead. You used to fish with me, Butch, but you know, you win a tournament.
Well, now you
goes,
forget all the little people.
Yeah, it all goes to your head and that's it, man. Now you're just doing, you know. But yeah, congrats again, dude. That was I think first and second place came in with 42 inches and I came in third with 41. It was a close tournament. But Inline Spinner, number 4. Live bluegill or live white perch did really well. Buzzbait did well. Whenever I'm in the rain, snakehead fishing in the rain, the buzzbait tends to do really well for me. And I got my bass on the topwater mouse, way up in the shallows. Didn't expect that. But I got one, like roughly 16-inch, maybe a little less than that, bass on the mouse and one on the inline Mets. But let me know if you have any more questions about the tournament.
So someone asked, they didn't know that you couldn't use like specific types of bait in certain tournaments. So you can talk about that.
Yes, I mean, it really comes down to the individual tournament and what species you're looking for. Generally speaking, when you're dealing with kind of freshwater sport fish, if it's not a catfish, in my experience, most of this is going to be artificial lures, especially like bass fishing. Almost every bass tournament you go to is going to be artificials. In the past, and I didn't do the Big Liz last year, so I can't comment on that. But I was under the impression, at least, that all the snakehead tournaments I've done to this point with Amped Up have been lures only. And I could be wrong, and I was just consistently using lures only. But I think that was the case. But it really comes down to the individual tournament. You have to just check out their guidelines and what their rules are to ascertain that particular piece of information. But if you want to know anything more about the actual tournament, let me know. That pretty much rounds it out. I lost a really big bass out there too, but that's fishing, man. That's just fishing.
That's just fishing.
Yeah, so. But one of the more interesting reports I've got recently is that people are seeing snakehead spawning, which isn't unusual per se for this time of year, but with how cool it is out there, I'm really curious how many fish are going to spawn and how far they're going to get into the spawning process. I don't know what recruitment's going to be like this fall, just because it's cooling off, man. It's cooling off a lot. Like ever since that cold spell hit, probably a little over a month ago now. I'm still catching them on topwater, but the bites definitely slowed down overall. Now, if you're out there slaying them, hey, you let me know, because I'm curious about your tactics, man. Because I have not been slaying. It just hasn't been that way. 40 degrees tonight, yeah, dude. Yup, it's cooling off. Now, the bright side of that, if you want to call it a bright side, look for the silver lining, because snakehead fishing, once it gets cooler out there, isn't, in my experience, it hasn't been that great in the past. But other species will open up. You know, the chain pickerel are going to pick up. The striped bass are really going to pick up for Rocktober. You're going to have the yellow perch going to pick up a little bit in the tributaries. It's going to be a blast. Actually, I got a great video for y'all coming up. If not next week, definitely the week after, where I went out crabbing and we took topwater plugs out there. I got a bushel of some of the biggest crabs I ever seen.
He was supposed to just be crabbing.
I was, but I mean.
But he can't help himself.
If the rockfish are smashing topwater plugs, man, exceptions have to be made. 4 snakes and a bass this morning.
You got mentioned in a podcast, babe.
I did? Which podcast?
Maryland Fishing Line podcast.
Oh yeah. I think it's Brian Rains' podcast over there. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Yeah. If you haven't checked out his channel, definitely go check it out, man. He bounces around. He does a lot of snakehead and bass fishing as well, but he does a bunch of other stuff. Most recently, striper for like Rocktober, which is really coming into full swing because we have this colder weather coming in. But,
someone says, do you think Underspins would be a good choice for tomorrow?
Oh.
So you answer that. I'll be right back.
I will answer that. So, I mean, you good over there?
I'm good. Don't mind me.
Minor issues.
Don't mind me. Blair,
dude,
fine.
Stan, God, I wish I could get down to Florida and chase the bullseyes with you, man.
Fine. Leave my plate alone.
It is on my to-do list. But Underspins. Honestly, I'll be straight up honest with you. It's like for the past many weeks here, I've been thinking that Underspins are going to be the ticket. And I've gone out trying to use underspins, and I end up switching off of them because I'm just not getting anything. Hey, children, please and thank you. Be quiet. Thank you. But yeah, I've gone out and thrown the underspins, but I haven't had much luck on them. I've had better luck on the Buzzbaits, the Topwater mice. Now the MEPS Inline Spinner, I've definitely had luck on that, which is something I love to throw. And this is a good point for you all out there. When you aren't getting much of anything, when you can't identify a solid pattern, the MEPS Inline Spinners, that's a great thing to throw for many reasons.
Oh my God.
You take it all out. But
Good night.
with the MEPS Inline Spinners, you're gonna get hits from so many different species. And especially when you're in a tournament, but any day fishing, but especially when you're in a tournament, it's really important to keep your morale up. If you start getting like down on yourself, if you're not getting striked, you start getting frustrated, you're gonna start making mistakes in your cast, you're not gonna make the cast that you should, you're not gonna be paying attention like you should. The MEPS really helps because when you're getting constant hits, even if it's from white perch or bass or crappie or snakehead, it keeps your head in the game. It's a real morale booster. And it's just a phenomenal lure besides. I mean, it catches everything. Catfish, perch, snakehead, bass, you know, even rockfish at times. It's great.
Jared says stop talking about his tourney performance.
Man, Jared started off on fire. He started off on fire, and then probably around 10 or 10:30, he started, you know, he had a few bad breaks, and then the fish just didn't want to play with him. And that stuff, and I've been there, that stuff gets in your head. If you go for like 45 minutes to an hour with no hits, especially if other people are around you catching fish, there are a few things as painful as that in life. It's so demoralizing. So demoralizing. And it's crazy because
Really?
Do you like your ice, Victoria? Is it tasty?
You never get ice, and then all of a sudden you
I'm
get
so
ice.
happy it's good for you.
Will
Go
you
ahead, get some more ice, Victoria, by all means.
Will you take the wife crabbing? She's a fanatic.
Yes, she is.
What is she a fanatic of?
Eating crabs.
Eating crabs. Eating crabs.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with catching crabs.
No, she's not all about the life of the crabber, pulling the lines and dip netting and all of that jazz, no. But bringing home crabs, that'll put a smile on her face, especially the size of the crabs. I can't wait to show you all those crabs. We call it some of the biggest, darkest crabs I've ever seen in my life. Probably the biggest, darkest crab I've ever seen in my life, period. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I can't wait to show you all that video. Especially since I had the topwater striper on top of it. Oh, they were smashing plugs out there. It was glorious.
She does not want to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Adrienne does not want to go anywhere.
You see, we had a bad first experience in our outdoor life together.
It wasn't our first experience.
It was our camping experience, first camping experience. We were stationed out in Colorado, and we were out at this place called 11 Mile Reservoir, and that's about, I want to say about 8,000 to 10,000 feet above sea level. So you're talking about up in the mountains.
Go away! Shoo, goodbye. I love you, goodbye.
And this lake had just iced out, meaning the ice had just left the lake. So anyway, we pull up to the campsite, we're unloading all the gear. We thought, I say we as in the men, we thought that we had unloaded all of the food. We asked, you know, like, hey, y'all good to go? Good to go. We get on the road, we take the boat on the trailer, and we go to launch in the lake. Long story short, we're on the lake for about 8 hours, at least 8 hours. We rescue 2 other boaters out there, like, you know, like literally, like there was like it was like a pontoon boat full of 3 adults, 2 kids. They got stuck on the rocks, this island out in the middle of the lake. Like I jumped in, swam over, we lifted them off the pontoon, then we towed them out with the other pontoon boat, and we found another boat stranded out in the middle of the lake, towed them in as well. And at the time, I put in my soldiers after the fact for an award and got them an award after this.
And you got put in for one as well.
I did indeed.
And got one.
I did indeed.
Guess who didn't get a damn award?
So while we're out on the lake, it turns out we had the food in the trunk. And
all of the food.
All the food.
All of the food.
All the food. So we had the women and children back at the campsite.
Pregnant woman.
Without any food.
Pregnant woman who just told her soon-to-be father, husband, hey, I get really nauseous when I don't eat. Like room spinning, can't stand up, nauseous.
Yeah.
And he left us out there for 9 hours with no food.
Yeah.
With 2 kids and 4 dogs.
What?
And that's the way it was. And so, long story short, Adrienne's not fond of the idea of camping anymore.
It's a dirty word.
Sam's gonna cry. It was ugly, dude. It was so ugly. Oh, the worst part of it? No, it's not the worst part. To compound things, we didn't really catch anything on a lake either.
And we got attacked by bugs. We had to go in the car. There was no tent. They left. It was dark when they got back. They took all the tents.
It was not well planned or
There was
executed.
no cell service. Exactly, children.
Why? We can't live without it.
My kids are looking at their father like, what? Who are you?
So 11 Mile Reservoir is beautiful. I highly recommend it. And at its tailwaters, it actually carves a canyon. It's called 11 Mile Canyon. Beautiful, beautiful. And so the trout in there are just insane. Cutthroat, brown, rainbow. I even caught a huge pike in there once. That pike was fat on trout. Boy, he was fat. But yeah.
Oh, babe. Tell him what was going on the next week.
Refresh my memory. Your memory is better than mine.
He was deploying.
Oh, that.
It was his last weekend in the States.
That little thing.
And he left for Afghanistan later that week.
Daddy.
And that's how it went down. And we look back on it now fondly. Oh, God. But yeah, snakehead fishing.
You have a question.
I'm listening.
Will snakehead cross areas with stronger currents in chase of prey?
Based on what I've seen, especially from others, the answer is yes. You know, and that's going to be especially pronounced when you get into a system that has a really strong tidal flow. If you haven't seen it yet, check out my video on, I think it's called Tide and Snakehead Fishing. Something along those lines. It's not that hard to find. And essentially what I've seen in my experience, best place to fish is going to be at the mouth of a creek on an outgoing tide. Great place to fish because all that bait comes pushing out of the creek, and as it comes pushing out, you have predators staging to ambush. Great place to fish. But more specifically, there are places down in the tidal basin over towards DC where I've seen really strong current flow and I've seen snakehead swimming in it. There's also a place, you may not, sir. There's also,
Nice try.
I've also been sent videos of snakehead that are in really fast current in a river, like it looks like a Piedmont river, like a trout stream. And the adults were doing very well. They were swimming right next to each other, 2 of them. Now, in terms, I don't think they're gonna do well there ever populating in high numbers because the fry could never survive that current. The fry are not strong swimmers. They really need slack current to survive. Otherwise, they just get pushed downstream and picked off as they go. But in terms of what adults can do, adults can definitely survive in that faster water, and they will move through fast water to find that bait. Yes, the answer to that question is yes.
Cool. I was told to suck it up, Buttercup, because, you know, that's my favorite thing to hear.
Yeah, well, it's tapping into that military jargon.
What upcoming tournaments do you have?
What upcoming tournaments? Actually, oh God, I hate to say it. I think I'm almost done with tournaments for the year. I mean, you have some saltwater tournaments that are coming up that I'm looking at getting into. Saltwater isn't my strength, but I'm not bad at it. So I do love tournament fishing. I might give that a shot. But in terms of snakehead fishing, I think that's almost done for the year. Now, come next year, I think me and the boys over at Snakehead Outlaws are going to be putting on some of our own tournaments. And actually, we were supposed to have a meetup with Amped Up to have a little competition going there, but, you know, schedules are what they are. It's never worked out. But I don't have a next tournament on my schedule just yet. But there are some, like I said, coming up on the salt side that I'm definitely going to look into.
Do you think you're being helpful right now? Do you think that's being conducive to this conversation?
We have a child being
Go on.
reprimanded.
Do snakehead have a fall bite?
The snakehead fall bite. This is a source of at least a little bit of minor controversy here because I've talked to a few guys. Mike Stewart, Greg Hall, a few other guys out there who have had really, really good days in the fall. Like some of their best fishing for snakeheads come in the fall. Now, I've had good days in the fall, but I've never had one of my best days in the fall. And there's a lot of nuance there as to why that could be. It makes sense because most predatory species do have that ramp up period where they want to feed really heavily to build up the reserves they need to get through the winter. But for me personally, it's like I said, I've had good days in the fall, but I haven't had great days in the fall. Now, I went out today on my home waters, and the best I could do, I had 2 short strikes from snakehead, and I spooked about 5 others. They were in really thick grass around where I'm at home. But, I mean, I caught some white perch, but that was pretty much it, man. It was a tough day where I was out here on the home waters. But yeah, the fall bite, if you've had a really good fall bite, let me know, because I'm always up for learning as well. Yeah, I don't know on that one, man. Some guys swear by it, but for me, I haven't had the best luck in fall. Good days, not great days.
Have you ever used crawfish lures for snakehead?
Yes, I have. If you see my video, I think it's called 360 degree snakehead. It was the first video where I had my GoPro Max and really used it out there. That was a west side trip in water that had probably about 4 to 5 feet of visibility, pretty clear water. And I was using the Bandito bug, which is a kind of crawfish lure from Guggen Baits. And I nailed like a 29 incher, and she was thick. God, that fish was thick. And then I got 2 more on the crawfish lure.
Wow.
Like what? But
So bad.
the short the short answer is yes. I've used crawfish lures, and from talking to the biologists, if snakehead are in an area that has a lot of crawfish, they will eat the heck out of some crawfish. Even though they have like an upturned mouth, you know, eyes almost on the top of their head. Even with that, even though their body morphology isn't really geared towards feeding on the bottom, they will smash some crawdads. Well, I don't blame them though. You know, you can't really blame them. It's like a mini lobster. There's few of the things that I'd rather eat, me personally. So I got to give them the thumbs up of approval. Crabs, yeah, that too.
It says, been loving the videos. Keep up the good work. That's Noah DeVos.
Noah DeVos, thanks, brother.
And then Jared said there's an overnight catfish tournament coming up, and he'll tell you about it.
Oh, really? I see. This is what I love.
Overnight, huh?
Yeah, it's possible. But it's what I love, and I appreciate y'all for it. Like, for any type of catfish tournament, I can usually count on Jared to give me the line on that. And y'all give me the heads up on a lot of other tournaments and things going on. So I always appreciate the reports, man. Like, don't think you're bothering me with that kind of stuff. I love getting that kind of intel and information, man. So definitely send it my way. But yeah, I'm gonna start retooling my gear soon. I'll be chasing snakehead for a little while longer. I'll be chasing snakehead until they're not biting. I don't know who I'm kidding. I'll be chasing snakehead until they're not biting anymore. But I am branching out. I'm starting to branch out for the fall.
Go away. Both of y'all. Goodbye.
Out of the kitchen. Go ahead. Go play somewhere. And I saw a question about paddle tails,
Upstairs. Paddle tail or spark shad, which is best?
Well, I mean, a spark shad is a paddle tail. What specific model do you mean when it comes to other paddle tails, like a Kitech? Or like a diesel minnow, like a Z-Man? Well, honestly, whatever the answer is there, I might still shade towards the spark shad. Because when you're dealing with a soft plastic, you're always looking for that balance between action, scent, and durability at minimum. And the spark shad, I think, has a happy medium. It comes out of the pack with, you know, a nice smell to it. It's pretty durable. It'll last a good long while, even as you're rehooking it inside to maintain that really weedless quality. And it's a solid lure. It thumps a lot. It has a good vibration to its tail. Now the Kitechs, like the Easy Shiner Minnow, they might thump a little bit harder, The attractant on there might be a little bit better, but Kitechs are fragile. Kitechs are really fragile. Great lures, they catch fish, but they get tore up quickly. Now, the Z-Man, I've definitely had luck on the Z-Man. I haven't used it that much yet, but the Z-Man's phenomenal. They're soft plastics. I mean, they can literally stretch, like a lure this big can literally stretch this far and have zero damage. The durability on the Z-Man soft plastics is incredible. It's like nothing I've ever seen. So there's definitely that to be said for it.
You said Kitech paddle is what I was talking about.
Ah, Kitech, okay, yes. Well, okay, good, all right. I casted a kind of a shotgun blast there, and I'm glad I hit on it. But yeah, I'd still lean towards the Spark Shad. But I mean, the other two are great options. There's no doubt about it. It's just I put the Spark Shad on top. Yes, a little bit thicker body profile too. I don't know if that helps with drawing bigger strikes or like bigger fish, but you know, I'm willing to buy that for $1 and bank on it. Oh, Keith, the Banjo Minnow, dude. Now you're taking me back, man. Oh my gosh. If y'all aren't familiar with the Banjo Minnow, that was one of the.
I feel like I know what that is.
It was one of the few true working lures that was like a TV commercial type lure. The Banjo Minnow, man. I've caught so many fish on that thing. Like, but the sad part of the story is that the Banjo Minnow, over time it went downhill. They started changing their formula for the soft plastics. They weren't as flexible, didn't have the same action. And the point we're at now, I'm not even sure if Banjo Minnow is still being produced. If it is, I'm sure it's like that kind of harder plastic.
He said he was joking about the Banjo.
He was joking? Well, I'm not joking, bro. I've caught a lot of fish on the Banjo, dude. That thing was killer for smallmouth on a river, dude. Yeah, killer for smallmouth. Now for snakehead, I haven't really used it for snakehead. But when it came to river fishing for smallmouth and stuff like that, pickerel, pike, striped bass, yeah, I've slung some banjos, man. It was good. The helicopter lure, I did buy that. I did. I was drawn into that. Was that Roland Martin plugging that, man? I still feel like I want to slap him for that stuff because they always go to like the Everglades or like Okeechobee down in Florida, where like they just go like where the fish have never seen a lure, and you could throw almost anything back in there and they're gonna smash it. And they're pulling in like 5, 8, 10-pound bass. Like, oh, I gotta have that lure. The helicopter lure. I never did much good on the helicopter lure, man. If you did, great. I'm happy for you. But for me, look at that. I knew it. I knew he was gonna say that. Sam caught one of his biggest bass on the helicopter lure. I never caught a darn thing on that, man. But I'm happy for you.
Someone said they had a ton of short strikes from Snakehead past couple of days. Do you think this has something to do with the cold front and also some wind may have played a factor?
Both of those things. Both of those things. And there's the two worst things you can have for snakehead is a cold front and the wind. The wind is just god awful. I think it's probably what killed it for me today because it's exactly what I had was short strikes, couple follows. Now, the one I messed up because like whenever you're dealing with snakehead, whenever you get a topwater bite, especially if it's a topwater mouse or a frog, you gotta make sure they have it before you set the hook, and I did not do that. I thought he had it, I couldn't see the lure, I set the hook, and no resistance at all, it just came flying back at me, and that was just 100% my mistake on that one.
3-inch or 4-inch Spark Shad?
I usually opt for the 4-inch Spark Shad. The 3-inch is a really cool lure though, dude. Like, especially if you're on, like, if you're doing like some more light tackle fishing, like back in your like smaller creeks and rivers, that's a hell of a lure. Because you can catch everything on it. You can catch the pumpkin seed, you can catch, you know, the sunfish, the bass, you know, anything that's in there, like little rockfish and stuff. It's a really cool lure, man. But definitely for snakehead, I definitely go for the 4-inch. Now, they have the 5-inch model too. I'm gonna throw that for striper. I may throw that for striper this weekend. You're triggering ideas in my head. I like that.
Going off of that, what's the best lure besides Topwater for thick underwater weeds down here on the west side Bush River, to be exact? And he is going there tomorrow, so I guess he needs information as soon as possible.
Oh, okay, all right. So the best lures that I've been able to use on the bush, and I'm not going to tell you which ones exactly, but several of my west side videos have come on the bush. Now, I've done well there on the buzzbait. The caveat is that it's only viable there in a lot of those places at high tide because you need, you know, probably 3 to 4 inches minimum between the hydrilla mats and the surface of the water to have a good day throwing buzz baits. Aside from that, I would probably try your ribbit frogs, reeling them just kind of subsurface. And, have your crawfish lures. You know, I'll give you that right there. That's one of the places I used the crawfish lures on, was on the west side, and did really well for that. But in terms of fishing that heavy grass, it's tough. You know, it really is tough because most lures, like, first of all, anything not weedless is pretty much out the window, because they're like, you're just gonna foul your hook every single time and the fish are not gonna take it. So, target those areas at high tide, because that opens your repertoire, that opens up the span of different lures you can use in that area. And B, I would throw like a kind of a subsurface ribbit type lure, because if you use, and Butch knows this well, Butch knows this really well. If you use a ribbit frog in a subsurface fashion, kind of like a swim bait, it kicks a lot because you have two paddle tails right there, right? Yeah, that's a good point, Sam. A fluke. I haven't tried that there, and that's probably a really good lure to try over there. But yeah, go at high tide, throw your ribbits, your flukes is another good idea. And if you've got a good spinner bait, like I've used the SS Custom spinner bait to good effect over there. That's actually worked really well, the SS Custom spinner bait. That's another good one. So I guess the last one would be an inline spinner, if it's weedless. Okay, I'll stop there.
Oh my God.
I had to give him all the intel if he's going tomorrow. Oh, and be prepared to slow it down, because like I think like Sam said, it's down to the 40s tonight. The water temp is still in a pretty good place. I went out today, and I think, unless my reading was just way off, I was in the low 70s. Low 70s is still good water for snakehead. I don't start worrying about the lure bite for snakehead until it gets down to like the mid 50s, low 50s or so. Yeah.
When do you feel the topwater bite dies for snakes? I'm the kind of guy that would throw a frog when there's ice on the water, which I don't think that makes a whole lot of sense, because it'll just slide on ice.
I've only seen one fish try to come through the ice to get a topwater frog, and I think that was actually, I don't know what that was. I can't even rationalize it. I want to say it looked like a peacock, but it doesn't make any sense, because
just slide on top.
Any water that has ice on it should generally kill a peacock bass. Anyway, moving on. What was the question again? I got sidetracked with playing a fishing video in my head. I'm dead serious. What was the question? Oh,
when does the bite
the
die?
cutoff temp for topwater.
Oh my God.
So the cutoff temp for topwater, I'm gonna say is probably gonna be in the high 50s, maybe mid 50s if you're fishing an afternoon bite. Because I mean, they're very comparable to bass, and the low 60s for bass can actually be a really good temperature. The water temp, let me be clear, can actually be a really good temperature for topwater bass. So I think we still have at least another week or two, probably even more than that, probably close to 3 or 4 weeks to pull some topwater snakehead. Yeah, I think so.
I think so too.
Time will tell if that's accurate or not. We'll see. I don't even know.
I do good for snakes in fall, looking for mud flats, and don't start fishing until noon.
Exactly. Great points on both counts. Who was that?
Keith Huber.
Keith, very good point, Keith.
I kept the name.
Thank you. Thank you, baby. It
says the spatterdock roots are usually where mud flats are. They look like octopus legs.
Great point.
That's my point. I'm just kidding. I didn't say that.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
If you check out my how to catch late fall snakehead, one of the things that I would do is I would go to the pad fields, because you'll notice them dying. You'll see the leaves browning. You'll see them starting to get ripped up and kind of tore up, thin out. The edges of the pad fields is where I've done really well casting minnows and lures in that area. But that's a great point, Keith, is that as the pads start to dissipate, as they start to die, snakeheads still like to relate to structure. And what's going to be left is going to be the root systems of those pad fields. If you spend some time on the pad fields, the root systems almost look like, kind of like the trunk of a palm tree, almost similar to that. And that's great structure. Great structure. Like when snakehead can't find grass and vegetation, they relate to timber and things like timber. So that's a great point, Keith. When
fall comes, a lot of guys put that frog and topwater lure away when they should keep it out.
Fair point, man. You know, I've been very surprised this year, especially going out and seeing what's been the best producers. I'm like, I'm gonna go out and throw the underspin and the swim bait and tear them up. Not how it played out, bro. Not how it played out at all. How dare you blah, blah, blah me.
I was told that I look bored, and I'm like, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, this is not exactly.
This is none of the things I'm interested in. 0%.
Which is why I extra appreciate you moderating this. Thank you, baby.
Like I said, I'm just here to type.
But one of my favorite fall lures is definitely the buzzbait. If you've seen my videos, you've seen me harp on the buzzbait at this point. Oh, and a key characteristic you want to look for in a buzzbait is find those models of buzzbait that you can slow roll. The slower you can retrieve a buzzbait, generally speaking, the better luck you're going to have with it. Oh, there's good news, baby.
They said they pull out the stupid chatterbait.
The chatterbait's a funny lure, man. I've caught some great fish on the chatterbait. I enjoy throwing the chatterbait, but until you catch enough fish on it to build faith in it, because if you're a fisherman, you know, not having faith in your lure makes it a terrible thing to throw, because you just, instead of expecting a hit, you're throwing it just in your head like, I'm not going to get a hit. I'm not going to get a hit. Why am I throwing this? I'm not going to get a hit.
Because you're fishing.
Yeah, well. But when it comes to the chatterbait, it's a great lure. It really is. Especially in your tannic and your stained water, because of how much vibration it throws off. It's a great lure. Bass smash it, snakehead smash it, even striped bass will smash it. But
Chatterbait is king.
But if you don't have faith in it, it's a tough lure to throw. You feel like a jackass if you don't. Excuse my language. You feel that this is what it feels like.
You can't bleep you on here.
I know you really can't. That is what it feels like, though. if you don't have faith in the chatterbait.
There is no bleeping.
Okay, I'm off my chatterbait horse now.
You sure? Because you talked about it for a long time.
For now, I am. Until Jared dogs it out some more, and then I'll have to come back and say, no, chatterbait's a really good bait.
Okay, so the fall is iffy with the snakehead, and it just depends on what lures you decide to keep out.
One other point that someone else made that I wanted to highlight that I didn't do that. Someone said don't fish for them till noon. Like it's kind of like there's a pattern in the spring and in the fall, especially the early spring and the fall in general. I like to fish the afternoons because that's when the water's had the most time to warm up, and that's when you're generally going to have your best bite from snakehead. It's the opposite in the summer. In the summer, I like having the morning bite. Although the evening bite can be good, I generally do best for a morning bite in the summer months. But in the spring and in the fall, fishing the afternoon bite is usually the best way to go because the water is warmed up enough, and that elevates the body temperature of the snakehead, increases their activity, better bite.
Okay, so it says you gotta believe, no doubt, my personal best snakehead. I know what PB means. Personal best snakehead was 10.5, was on chatterbait.
There you go, brother. Was that full armor bassin?
Yeah.
If you guys don't know full armor bassin yet, check them out on YouTube. Those guys are down there. Well, first of all, they're fantastic people. Just straight up fantastic people. Second of all, they catch a lot of snakehead and really nice bass down in the Virginia way. So check them out. Great videos, editing, everything around. Check out Full Armor Bassin.
So snakehead are lazy and don't get up early. Adrienne doesn't like you fishing in the afternoon, I bet.
This is true. It's like normally I try to go on Sundays in the morning because that's when my family is going and doing their thing at church. I go to my church in nature, and that's how we try to balance it out. But when I go in the afternoon or I'm out for a really long time, that leaves Adrienne with the kids and everything else, and that's challenging.
This is not marriage counseling. This is fishing tips, as Jared pointed out earlier.
It's it's important though, and it's something that I both fail and succeed at, is finding that balance between family time and fishing time. So maintain that balance, and you'll have better fishing time and a better family life too. So watch that balance. Yeah, look at her biting the
What's
tongue.
your go-to lure for the fall?
Go-to lure for the fall?
Doesn't it depend on what you're fishing for?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
And like where you're fishing and water type and
all of that, and that's
how
where
much wind is blowing.
That's where the nuance comes in. The first thing I'm always gonna try for, even in the fall, is probably gonna be a buzzbait. or something I can reel at speed, usually on the top. A, because top water is most exciting. B, because I can cover that water. And I've said before, it's really more important to work the water, and it is, more than it is to cover the water. You don't want to be moving at speed because you sacrifice a lot of ambush
Whopper
points.
plopper.
Whopper plopper is a great lure. I just generally don't throw it as much because A, it's 2 treble hooks. It's going to pick up a lot more grass or any kind of structure that's there. And B, I haven't used the Whopper plopper for snakehead in a long time just because it freaks me out, man. Like, I can think of few other fish that I would least like to be attached to, because all it takes, you've caught snakehead, you know how they flop and death roll. You can't really control them. If you get one hook in you and one hook in the snakehead, oh my God, I can't even imagine, dude.
You lose fingers.
I can't even imagine the damage they would do to you. So I haven't thrown the Whopper plopper in a long time for them. It's a great lure. It's, you know, it's a great lure, but yeah, yes, favorite lures for the fall. I'm gonna start with the Buzzbait. I've had a lot of luck on the swim bait, specifically the 4-inch Megabass Spark Shad, and your MEP spinners. Now the MEP spinners are going to become more and more effective as more and more of the grass dies, because they're not going to get hung up as much. But I do love my MEPs, man. If you don't have a MEP spinner in your tackle box, you need to get one. You need to get one. They catch so many fish.
You said that's true, especially if you're releasing them back. When can I schedule a snakehead fishing trip?
I want to say maybe, let me look at the calendar here. I'm trying to do a subscriber day coming up, actually. And
Need to get with his manager, send an email,
that too.
get on the schedule,
And
make a deposit. I'm kidding.
Jared, Sam, Grant, like a few other guys know that my schedule is just,
Which
it fills up so quickly. Which MEPs? MEPs number 3 or 4.
And then I'm saving a question.
I've called snakehead on both, MEPs number 3 or 4. And if you can have the treble hook such that it has some of the feathering on it, all the better. Now, I want to say October 11th, I have set aside as a subscriber day. I'll let y'all know, like via Kambotrout fishing on Facebook and maybe on my next week's video or something like that. Exactly. I think it's the October 11th is what I have planned. Because I mean, I know like, a lot of y'all want to go fishing, and I want to go fishing with you. It's just finding the time, man. Honestly, it's finding the time. Because generally speaking, I fish 1 day a week. You know, I'm a weekend warrior fisherman as much as I love it. Got to work full time, got kids, got family, and I got to take care of my family and kids. But keep an eye out for October 11th. I think that's what I have scheduled for a subscriber day.
I'll come check.
And I will let you know for sure via a post later this week.
How do I get in the subscriber date?
There is an area, and this is what I'm going to double check. So like I said, look out for that post. When you're looking at the Blackwater area, a large swath of Blackwater closes October 1st. And that's to allow for migratory waterfowl, as well as waterfowl hunting, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's part of it as well. But there is a part of Blackwater that remains open. And if I'm correct, that part of Blackwater is a wide open area. There's sufficient parking such that a bunch of us can meet up there and go hit the water. I'm gonna check all that out, and if that's the case, then I'll pretty much leave it as an open meetup to anybody who wants to show up. Hopefully it doesn't get completely out of hand. Hopefully, you know, we don't like overflow the place.
Like
but
3K people showing up.
But that's my plan, because I mean, like I've said in the past, like I'm gonna do a subscriber day. I'm gonna do a subscriber day, and something comes up, you know, whether it's weather or scheduling, it never happens. But October 11th, I think, is the date. I'll provide you the details later this week. Never mind, just answer my question. What did Justin ask?
If it's one person that you're picking or
no. This
whoever
is
shows up. And I typed in the chat, but you also answered.
okay. Yeah. That'll be pretty much whoever wants to go out there and chase. Yep.
Okay, so there's a question to me.
Uh-oh.
Does he balance fishing and family time as well as he thinks he does? Fishing all day, Saturday, crabbing Sunday, fishing Monday.
You
know who asked
son
that
of a gun.
You know who asked that question.
I sure do. Pot stirrer.
Here's the thing about Adrienne and Steven. Adrienne is very independent. I take care of a lot of things on my own. I don't need hand holding. I don't need assistance to get things done. So when Steven goes fishing, I'm not gonna tell him don't go fishing. I'm not gonna say I need you to stay home because I'm not gonna do that because I'm gonna get done what I need to get done regardless of what's going on, whether he's there or not. I just am. Now, how he feels about that, that's on him. But whether or not something's gonna get done, whether he's present or not, it is what it is.
So, right off the bat, if you don't know, Adrienne is MDPhD, and that's already enough to fill every hour and every minute in the day for anyone, whether they're
And
single.
what is this peach lemonade, sour apple, pineapple, creamsicle? What is he talking about?
That might be the moonshine.
Oh! Yes! Hook a sister up!
Oh, but yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about Adrienne. Like, she does all of that. She does so much for our children. So much for our family.
Jared. He said, so what she's saying is she's your PB.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And you know, that doesn't touch on even half of it. But just from me to you, just like from one man to another, it's like I said in the beginning, sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail, because my focus shifts. And I may feel like things are going really well, like I'm taking care of business, because I work really hard. Like at home,
That is true.
At home, at work, everywhere, we're both very conscientious people.
That is very true.
But we're also very high achievers. So she's MD PhD. She's part of 3 or 4 different projects right now for looking at different studies, getting things published. Is that accurate? 3 or 4?
Shit.
I mean, suffice it to say,
A lot.
Suffice it to say, multiple studies, right?
Aside from my PhD project.
Yeah, and she's working for her MBA right now. Okay.
Yes.
Up until late last year, I was working full time. I was finishing my master's at Hopkins. I'm running the YouTube channel. We're both very high achieving people, and it's easy for us to lose focus, or not. It's not even lose focus.
It's not even lose focus.
But in relative
changing
terms,
like
yeah,
where everything stacks up.
and you always have to balance your priorities, and that's just really important for the maintenance of your relationship and your family. So, I think that's enough said there. But you know, she's fantastic, and it's yeah, she is, and it's something that I always have to work on.
I'm really bored.
Because it's like
I get bored
So silly.
if that's gonna be a negative. I'm here supporting, but I'm also bored.
Oh God.
Anywho.
But she's here, isn't she?
Yes,
Yes.
she is here. Okay. Do you like the SS Custom Bait Inline Spinner?
The inline spinner I haven't thrown as much. I've thrown the spinner bait a lot more than I've thrown the inline spinner. So I don't feel like I can give you a good assessment on it, honestly. I'm usually not one for throwing a really big inline spinner. If you've seen the tournament that I did on the west side for Amped Up, that was early this year when we had that hellacious front of rain blow through beforehand, I got a lot of short strikes on inline spinners that day. And since then, I've been leery of throwing big inline spinners just because I'm terrified I'm just going to keep getting short strikes and seeing that curtain of bubbles come up with no fish attached to my line. So I'll have to start throwing it more to give you a more realistic assessment.
Sorry.
No
Have
problem.
you ever trimmed the bottom treble hook to make it more weedless? I saw that in an old fishing book.
Did it say which lure? The bottom treble hook?
Oh, I don't know. This is back when you were talking about the different your go-to fall lure. Oh, look at the moon.
I can't see the moon from this angle.
Right there.
Oh yeah, it is beautiful.
Your go-to fall lures is when they ask that question.
So I'm thinking maybe a MEPS then, or perhaps the Whopper Plopper.
Yeah, that's what they were talking about.
Okay, I have. If by trim it, I don't know if you mean trim the tail, like if it has feathering on it, or if you mean swap it out for a single hook as opposed to a treble hook. In either case, I haven't done that. So no, I can't comment on it. But in either case, I haven't done that. It is food for thought, though.
How about the SS Custom Frog? I was using that the other day and kept pulling it out of Snakehead's mouth.
I've heard good things about the SS Custom Frog, but again, it's one I haven't used. I gotta branch out more with what lures I'm using, man. It's like
Stick with what works, man.
that's the problem, right? It's like I'm a creature of habit. When I find lures that perform well,
Y'all don't even know.
y'all don't even know.
That was the biggest understatement he's ever made in his life.
Yeah,
That he is a creature
more than a little bit.
more than a little bit. How long you been watching Witcher, babe?
I've probably seen the Witcher series through at least 15 times by now.
More than that. He's lying. It's like 5 times that much.
When I find something I like, man, I'm on it. I'm on it, dude. But yeah, I do want to try the SS Custom Frog. I haven't thrown it yet.
So someone says bring a guest every week so they wrestle down the youngins or bring up a panel.
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. Now, there's some limitations there because, like, when I go out with some people, I always let people letting people know if they don't want me to video when we go out, I won't video when we go out because some people don't want to like have their places blow up, which I completely understand.
I don't want
But-
my place blowing up.
But in the case where, but taking a guest, yeah, that's a great idea. It's a great idea.
You can take off the front treble off a lipless crankbait, and that can really make it weedless.
That was Sam, wasn't it? Outdoors in
Outdoors in
Maryland.
Maryland.
Yeah, that sounds like Sam over there. That's a great idea too, and that's a straight up bass fisherman tip right there, man. That's a straight up bass fisherman tip right there. That sounds really good.
Is the typer frog as important as how you work it?
Oof, who asked that question?
Jared.
He's smart. He's damn good. In my opinion, how you work the frog is actually more important. Caveats to that, some frogs, when they come out of the pack, need to have their hooks bent slightly up and out to get better hookup ratios on your snakehead. But I've caught snakehead on the jawbone frogs. I've caught them on live target. I've caught them on booyah. I've caught them on, of course, the snake charmers, the various different models there. I've caught them on white, I've caught them on black, I've caught them on chartreuse, I've caught them on red. Now, I've caught on just about every frog that I've thrown, and I do really think what's more important is where you cast it and how you work it. That's a great question and a really good point. Is that the action, how long you let it pause, where you're casting it, deep in the cover, on the edge of cover, that's probably far more important. And this dovetails into another point that I make periodically. Like today I made my kayak setup video and sent that to y'all. The gear is important. I'm not gonna say it's not. The gear can really up your game when you have quality gear and the right gear. But more than anything else, and this is why I try to gear my channel towards passing on the knowledge about where to fish, how to fish. That time on the water, that knowledge is gonna beat gear almost every time. Like I can go out with mediocre gear and outfish somebody that has top of the line gear a lot of times because I know the water better, I know the fish better. So there's no substitute for time on the water and paying attention to the details and keeping things like keeping a log of what worked that day, how you were using it. All
That
that's
sound like work.
it is. If you really want to up your game, you really want to up your fishing game, that's what you got to do. And that's a great point. Great point.
So I guess this person was asking about crankbaits when they asked about cutting the bottom hook.
Okay, all right. And I think Sam has followed up on that.
Yeah, he has.
And that's a great point because that bottom hook
done?
is going to hang lower than any of the others, and it's going to affect how much you get snagged up. So that's great. Now, one note tonight, folks. Last time we did this, we ran way over, and I almost killed Adrienne that night from boredom. No, I didn't literally almost kill her, but she almost died.
Listen,
So this is the 5-minute warning,
my
folks.
tolerance.
Okay? 5-minute warning.
I mean, I try to be a good wife, but
You succeed. You succeed.
y'all, this is not my gig at all. At all.
Are we good? Are we caught up?
Another person asked about subscriber subscriber outing, but I said you announced that.
If y'all joined late, I believe I have it on my calendar to do a subscriber day on October 11th.
Is that my shirt?
If I do, just moderate myself. It's
This
tough,
don't
man.
have no clothes. She got on my shirt.
Oh yeah, my girls are big enough now. They're stealing all my wife's clothing. It's a good time. Why don't I use a baitcaster? There you go. So there's two answers to that.
Go. Goodbye.
Okay.
The one answer is that I've grown up using spinning gear. I'm more proficient with it. I can throw a baitcaster, but I'm nowhere near as proficient. And sacrificing time on the water to getting out birds' nests and things like that isn't something I look forward to. Point number two, baitcasters, especially quality ones, are generally more expensive, and I fish on a budget, 100%. We got 3 kids. You know, I work full time, but
Listen,
I'm
these
not.
truckers like to eat.
I'm not making stacks of money. So,
And I'm on a fixed income by the government. So
that's point number two. And point number three is more on the tactical side. Generally speaking, depends on the gear ratio, but generally speaking, a spinning reel can take up line a lot faster than a baitcaster. And sometimes when you set the hook on a snakehead, they will literally torpedo out of the water right at you. And if you can't take up that line quickly enough, they can throw in enough head shakes to throw that hook. So those are the 3 reasons I don't use baitcasters as much. Really the biggest deciding factor for me branching out is going to be for me to have enough disposable income for me to buy a really nice setup and start using it.
why are you playing?
My children are giving us a golf clap over here. I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
Or we're getting a golf clap.
Good live stream.
I guess
Oh,
we're doing
my
okay.
goodness.
Well, thank you, children.
Stripers Saturday on Liberty. Stop.
Stripers Saturday Liberty. I can't do it that short notice. That's the problem. I got to give my wife and family time to see that kind of stuff. Is that was that Mark or who was that?
Mark.
Yeah, bro. We got to get that on the calendar, man, because I definitely want to make that. I definitely want to make that trip with you. Because striper, God, they're such a fun fish, man. But whether the topwater or not, they just fight like hell. They're such a fun fish to catch. So we got to make that happen, but I can't make it this Saturday. I got to plan it out a little more than that.
That's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's never.
Listen,
So I said, no, we got to plan
I
it out
don't
more
care
than that.
about him going, but geez, can we get a plan? Okay, scum frogs are great, very well priced too at $3.50.
Yeah.
My friend was saying something about the speed is quicker on the spinning rods. I guess he was right. Get out. Cambo SLX DC 8.2 gear ratio.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And then stripers on Piney Run. It says strippers, but stripers on Piney Run are huge.
What are you doing on Piney Run exactly, Sam?
Looking at strippers.
You out there on a houseboat? You got some you got some action out there, man?
He's looking at strippers.
We've had this discussion many times about the combination of strippers and fishing and how that would work out on the water. We have. It is what it is. Yeah. On that note, folks, no, we still got 2 minutes.
There is no foundation for the strippers we were swing on the pole. Why would they be out there? Unless they like on the shore distracting you while you're trying to cast.
Damn sirens. Yep.
And then what happens like if you cast and you hit one?
These are all good questions.
You like a hook and a nipple.
Oh, damn.
Then what?
I mean, if they're into it, I guess.
Then what? Think about the people. He says I like strippers.
Well, that's that's fair. I don't think you're alone in that.
You're definitely not alone in that. If I could I'm just saying, smell like fish.
Start a GoFundMe. I've thought about it, dude. I have thought about it. I just I'm very prideful. I'm always very hesitant to ask.
I keep telling him to do a Patreon.
Anyone for help
and that way
on anything.
he's providing content for the money he's being given.
Yeah, it's
I got 5 on it.
yeah, I'm gonna set up like my end screen to have like a kind of a static end screen so I can have that Patreon on there. It just makes sense.
Listen, as I say on every live, I got all the ideas.
I'm always focused on.
I got all the ideas.
I'm always focused on trying to bring you all like really smooth, polished content that you can watch, And because of that, I don't focus enough on the marketing and everything else, and that's just one of my faults. Definitely is. But folks, probably not.
No, he said, Jared said, I bet they put up a good fight, and I said, probably not.
But folks, it is now 8 o'clock. It's 8 p.m. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us yet again. Let me know how you do on the water this weekend. Best of luck. Thank you again to my beautiful wife, Adrienne, for coming here and moderating with us. But yes, thanks for joining us, folks. Any other questions or comments, send me a private message, man.
And then we'll announce the subscriber fishing date when it's locked in, location, date, time.
There you go. All right, we are signing off. Thanks for joining us, and y'all have a good one.
Bye.